It was a mild spring afternoon in Portland, Oregon, and I was running behind schedule. My arms were weighed down with grocery bags, my phone kept buzzing with a relentless stream of work emails, and the gray clouds overhead seemed undecided, ready either to burst open or hold back for just a little longer. Hurrying toward what I believed was my front porch, my mind raced through an endless checklist. Laundry, dinner, a Zoom call at 6. Without thinking twice, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The moment my shoes touched the entryway rug, I froze. Something was off. The air didn't carry the familiar faint lavender scent of my home. Instead, it was warm with the aroma of cinnamon. The doormat beneath my feet wasn't mine either. My heart gave a jolt as I looked up and saw a wall filled with smiling faces I didn't recognize. Before I could retreat, a cheerful voice called from the kitchen. "Hey, you're just in time. Can you help me with this pie?" I turned and there stood Margaret, my neighbor from 2 houses down, wearing a floral apron, holding a mixing bowl. Her eyes widened as she took in my bewildered expression. "Oh my goodness," she chuckled. "You're not my niece." Flustered, I apologized, explaining that I'd been completely lost in my thoughts. I started to back toward the door, but Margaret, with her easy warmth, waved me in. "It's fine, sweetheart. Stay for a slice once it's done. You look like you could use a break." I didn't know it then, but that awkward mistake was the start of one of the most meaningful friendships I would ever have. Over the following weeks, Margaret and I began bumping into each other more, sometimes quite literally on the sidewalk. She was in her late 60s, retired, and a lifelong Portland resident. I, on the other hand, was still adjusting to life here after moving from Chicago for a new job. One drizzly Thursday afternoon, she invited me in for tea. Her home was a haven, lined with vintage books, plants spilling over from every corner, and that ever-present scent of something sweet baking in the oven. We sipped chamomile while listening to the rain tapping against the windows, and she spoke of her late husband, George, and the community garden she had tended for years. "You know," she said, stirring her tea slowly, "people come and go so quickly in this neighborhood. It's nice when someone stays." Her words lingered in my mind. Until then, I'd seen my move as temporary, a stepping stone to something else. But her perspective made me question whether I was missing out on truly settling in. That Saturday, Margaret invited me to visit the garden. I thought I'd simply watch, but before long I was kneeling in the dirt, planting marigolds, and learning how to keep slugs from devouring lettuce leaves. It felt unexpectedly good. The smell of fresh earth, the sound of laughter from neighbors, and the simple joy of being part of something. Margaret had a gift for making people feel welcome. One afternoon, as we were packing away tools, she said, "Sometimes life changes when you walk into the wrong place at the right time." That was when it hit me. If I hadn't wandered into her house that day, none of this would have unfolded. A few months later, her health began to falter. She didn't speak much about it, but I noticed her moving slower. I started stopping by daily, bringing groceries, helping with little tasks. At first, she resisted, but one evening she admitted, "You make it easier for me to keep going." In that moment, I realized she had given me something I hadn't even known I was missing, a sense of family in a city where I'd once felt invisible. One warm summer night, after we finished watering the garden, she handed me a small potted plant. "For your porch," she said. "So you'll always remember this is home. Years from now, I'll tell my children about the day I mistakenly stepped into the wrong house and how that blunder grew into a friendship that changed my life. It taught me that the best things often happen when you're distracted, off course, or even making a fool of yourself. Because that day, I didn't just find a friend. I found where I belonged.